Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles Lung. With me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
On this fine Mother's Day Sunday.
Sunday. I'm doing great. I've eaten a lot of coffee. I've had a lot of coffee today.
Eating a lot of coffee? That's pretty crazy, to be honest.
I drank it. I didn't eat it. I misspoke.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
But no one really cares about the coffee or the fact that it's Mother's Day because it's not Mother's Day when this comes out, which is tomorrow.
Yeah, nope, not even a little bit. It is episode 200. Yeah, that's episode 200 of the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast, in which every 100 episodes we take a pilot that we have pitched previously and write, perform, and then Jake edits together a beautiful audio pilot, radio play sort of situation for all of our lovely listeners to listen to. And do you want to tell the beautiful, handsome listenership what pitch we decided to turn into a fully fledged pilot with characters and motivation and sound effects and such?
Yeah, so for the last one, we did our very first ever episode 10, which was Demons and Delinquents.
Exactly.
But we were trying to figure out what we're going to do for this one, and you wanted to do Journos, which is a pitch I had pretty early on, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like in the 40s.
Probably in the 40s. I probably should have looked this up right before we said this, but it was early on. Journos. It's like it's a journalism story set in this sort of sci-fi world where I believe the whole idea, the genesis of the idea was that instead of having the information revolution, which we had in like the late 90s, early 2000, where we came up with the internet, essentially. Instead, in this world, they came up with a way to, have unlimited energy. So they have unlimited energy in this world. Energy's not a problem. But they don't have, the internet. There's no websites. You have to actually go to places and get shit.
And see things and do things. There's no real digital technology, right? Radios are kind of the standard operating procedure. People still develop film, right? With photos, with cameras, which actually may come into play in this pilot at some point. Who knows?
Maybe. I actually have the description here. I pulled it up. It was episode 37. So we were pretty close when we said the 40s. I think that's what we said. The description 1940s. Was that I wrote. I don't know when was this? Wait, like almost 2 years ago, probably.
Point. A while ago.
A world without the internet. Welcome to a very different 21st century where the internet is non-existent, but humanity has solved the energy problem. An alternate reality with flying cars and government-funded news. In our story, we follow Edward, a laid-back radio journalist, and Frederick, an uptight writer who had been partnered together on their first day as magazine journalists. Our unlikely duo must uncover the mystery behind a missing person case while revealing to the audience the strange workings of this alternate future. So it's like the premise is like the setting isn't the story, a post-apocalyptic story. The fact that it's the post-apocalypse is the story. But this is like, things are different, but we don't really talk about it unless, just something the audience sees and hears.
Exactly. It's just a fun it's the flavor of this delicious soup of a television show. Mm-hmm. And the thick chunks of meaty goodness are the intrigue and desperation of our two intrepid journalist main characters.
Yes,
Edward,
who are, as I just said, are
Richard.
Part of a government-funded news. So the news in this world, unlike our current world, is like the fourth branch of government. Yeah. I believe that's how I phrased it on the original pilot. They're like, we've got, in the U.S., we have the legislative, the executive, and the judicial branch. But then they have the news branch, which is essentially just like supposed to, keep tabs on things, make sure, everything's, there's no corruption, essentially. They're like anti-corruption people. But, it doesn't really work out like that always.
No, most of the time,
sometimes
it's
the people that are in
charge
of corruption are a little corrupt themselves.
Well, just a little bit. Maybe our characters are a little corrupt sometimes, but maybe they're not. Maybe they've got hearts of gold hidden behind their grim and grizzled exteriors. Who knows?
Yeah.
We do, but you don't because you haven't listened to the episode yet. So Jake's going to press play on this beautiful pilot that we've spent weeks.
That I spent, we spent weeks on, and I spent probably the last entire week editing every day after work.
Yeah.
For my entire time after work. And then all Friday and Saturday. So that was fun.
He's been a busy boy. He's been putting in he's been putting in the hours. He's been on his Sigma male grind set, this guy. And he knows the quality of what he's created. And so, therefore, I think all of you should go and give this video a like before you even hear the pilot.
Oh yeah, definitely do it before, because afterwards you might not. I mean, you definitely will, obviously, because it's amazing. Yeah, definitely.
But we should mention that we did get
by the quality. We did get professional voice actors for this, so there are, real, hard and true professionals. They've been paid a lot of money. The voices you're about to hear are incredibly good, obviously, because the people
beautiful,
we got
unique,
are top notch, the best of the best.
Not a single character is played by the same actor, right? Each character is a unique individual person.
I mean, we don't even have to say that, really, because you'll just be able to tell by the unique and different voices that are done by each. Like, we got really distinct people for each one with very different voices. Yeah. So none of them at all, and I mean that 100% truthfully, no lies here on the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast.
Never is.
Are very distinct voices.
And we even got a real woman to do one of the voices. I know, crazy.
Yeah, that might have been a hiccup while we were writing this, and we would write a female character, and then something would be like, oh shit, when we have to
hire a woman,
somebody that's not one of us to do the voice.
Yeah.
And convincing someone to do a voice is not. Well, I mean, obviously we got all professional actors, but
it's just
we're not doing this, obviously.
No, never. But enjoy the episode, everyone, and please wait till the very end, and you'll hear a very special message from all of us at the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast team. Inside of Edward and Frederick's apartments. On the left, Frederick pops out of bed and begins preparing for work, while on the right, a dark screen with the faint numbers of a digital clock poking out from obscurity. While Frederick makes his breakfast, goes to the gym, feeds his snake, and irons his neat white-collared shirt, he prepares a cup of coffee while he gets dressed. Just as the clock strikes 9 o'clock, the red numbers light up and a brash alarm buzzes into the dark room. Edward slaps the top and falls out of bed. The sun is peeking through the curtains, and he stumbles into the kitchen for a glass of water. He's already dressed in a crumpled, stained collared shirt and a well-worn green canvas jacket. He drinks half the glass and lights a cigarette. As Frederick rolls a lint roller over his jacket, Edward pops out of his apartment and heads to the bar downstairs. He plays a round of pool and has a beer as the clock hits 9:50. Frederick is on the metro, frequently checking his watch to make sure the train is on time, while Edward hails a taxi and gives the man an extra buck to step on it. Outside the MAG District 3 headquarters, Frederick and Edward arrive at the same time and bump into one another in front of the revolving door.
What you looking at, Slick?
I'm sorry. You ran into me.
Do I got something between my teeth? Because you're looking at me like I got a problem.
No, I'm just, I think you may have the wrong address. This is, District 3 MAG headquarters.
Yeah, I know. Why?
Oh, sorry. You must be dropping off a package. I think delivery's around back.
Deliveries, huh? Yeah, sure. I'm just dropping a load off, don't mind me.
Rick is bristled, but just tries to ignore Ed. He goes up to the secretary. Yeah, sorry. I'm just the new MAG reporter. Do you know where I'm supposed to go?
4.
What?
4.
What do you mean 4?
He means the number. Do they skip math in J school?
Hey, just drop off the package. I'm trying to go to work.
Calm down and follow me, kid.
Rick hesitantly follows Ed into the elevator. Ed presses the 4th floor and lights a cig. I don't think you can smoke in here.
Really? Huh.
Ed continues to smoke, and Rick tries to waft it away. The doors open to the next floor. Ed pushes out first, and very quickly someone passes by and snatches the cigarette out of his mouth.
Hey, no smoking, Rook. Come on, let me at least finish the smoke.
The veteran Journo flicks it out the window. Do you work here?
Of course not.
Oh, thank God.
I don't start for another 5 minutes.
Ed leaves Rick stunned and confused in the elevator as he continues to strut forward. The elevator doors begin to close, and Rick has to quickly squeeze between the metal panes. I'm sorry, I just didn't realize that you were... It's just you don't exactly look,
Look what?
I don't know... editorial?
You're goddamn right. I look downright esoteric.
Ed continues down the long road of cubicles until he reaches the corner office where a plaque says Stroud, editor, 3rd District. Inside, Stroud is leaning back in a large burgundy leather chair with a phone pressed between his cheek and shoulder. He's wearing suspenders and has a neat, expensive cigar case set up with a clean ashtray. Ed pushes open the door as he finishes speaking. Rick follows in. Stroud remains on the phone and turns his chair away from them.
I don't care what Hardy says. None of my kids were at the courthouse that night. We don't cover the law beat unless it's homicide.
Stroud slams the phone onto the receiver and rubs his eyes while gesturing the boys toward him.
You two must be the new boys, huh? Good. We're looking for new blood, but listen up. I'll cut right to the skinny. This district is working fine. No need for a couple of hot-headed kids to go pushing people's buttons. Got me. You try and pull any of that Watergate shit, and you'll just be another divorced sports writer before you can draft your first headline.
Pan to the sports desk, which is in the corner of the newsroom. A collection of old geezers sit around arguing about baseball.
Did you get the latest RBI stats on that shortstop from District 4?
No. I think my wife won that brief in the divorce. You have last week's scatter reports from Jamaica?
No. My wife took that when she moved in with my brother.
Pan back to Stroud.
Fuck, dude.
We'll keep that in mind, sir.
Good. We're all on the same page. You do the work you're assigned and nothing else. Now take your file and get out. I got a district rep to scream at.
But, sir?
Aren't we gonna be assigned, I don't know, partners or something?
Look left and right, dumbasses. Now get the fuck out. Jesus Christ, how thick are you two? I thought we weeded out all the morons when we ran that expose on the leg contamination and Fat Boy burgers.
Ed tucks a Fat Boy burger wrapper that was sticking out of his coat deeper into his pocket and clears his throat. Oh, that rhymed. Sir, I don't think that that's a great idea. I've always worked with the best. And, the phone rings and Stroud picks it up.
You fucking piece of shit. I gotta strangle you for what you done to my kids. Alright, I'm gonna wear your fucking...
Ed and Rick walk out of the office, dejected, and crawl to their communal desk space.
Well,
Yeah,
slightly, underwhelming.
yeah, but at least we're not going on coffee runs. We have a case. Rick begins to open the file excitedly, like a child on Christmas morning, his enthusiasm reinvigorated by the promise of real mag work.
Give me that.
Ed opens it up to see something that disappoints him.
Oh, fuck off.
What?
They got us doing fucking intern shit.
Let me see. Outside of the mag office in a green space near a small bodega, Rick is reading the file and Ed walks out with a granola yogurt parfait and a pack of cigarettes. He hands the parfait to Rick. I mean, it's not all bad. Record collection is the foundation of investigative journalism.
You sound like a fucking J-School advertisement.
What'd you just say?
I said you're a fucking dumbass.
Ed lights his cigarette and an alarm goes off. A drone flies over and puts the cigarette out with a tiny fire extinguisher-like device. There is no smoking in the green zone.
Fuck off.
Ed tries to relight the cigarette, but it won't work. Frustrated, he flings it at the drone, which catches it and disposes of it properly. Thank you for your disposal. Have a nice rest of your day. Inside of the metro station, moments later. You know it's advertisement, right?
Will you just shut up already? Jeez.
They climb onto the train and Ed lights another cigarette. A man comes over and quickly tosses it out the window.
No smoking on the metro.
Ed sighs. On the steps of City Hall. Moments later. This is City Hall. The next stop is Harbor East. I mean, who says advertisement?
I fucking say it. I didn't realize I was partnered with a goddamn copy editor.
Ed lights another cigarette as they climb up the stairs. They enter the hall and go through the metal detectors. Rick goes through fine, it beeps for Ed, and the cop takes his cigarette, his lighter, and his taser. Why do you have a taser?
When parfait-eating dicks ask me about my pronunciation.
You've gotta be messing with me, right? In time with his remark, the cop slides the taser down the table to Ed and gives Rick a dirty look. All right, let's at least get one story done before I need to file an HR report. They walk through the checkpoint and up to the annoyed-looking secretary. Hello, we're looking for the records office.
Number?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Your district number.
Oh, sorry, we're with District 3.
Hall on the right.
Ed and Rick turn to the right to see a string of never-ending and divergent hallways that spread in all directions. Which one exactly?
Third from the right, sir. Your right or my right? His right.
The secretary points to a giant statue of the mayor that adorns the middle of the room. Mayor Graves is completely naked except for a single maple leaf adorning his genitalia.
So, our right. Yes. All records stay in the hall. I don't want to see you taking any shit home.
They reach the end of the hallway, and as Rick carefully reads the sign to make sure they're in the right room, a young girl with a red hat bursts out and runs into it. Papers clatter everywhere, and the girl crouches down with Rick to pick them up. Oh, sorry, my bad, I didn't see you. Rick is interrupted as she quickly snatches the paper from his hand and runs off. Okay, then.
Manners don't get you anywhere, Freddy.
And neither does rudeness. Rick punctuates his point by holding up a single paper that the girl left behind.
Congrats. You stole from a little girl.
She left, They are interrupted by another door springing open and the all-too-recognizable face and wide frame of Inspector General Duke Agnew with a long retinue of ass-kissers.
Please, everyone. Being Inspector General is not for the faint of heart. I mean, just yesterday I had to leave my lunch at the Bordeaux to deal with the new interns. It's not an easy task, especially when the mayor usually picks them for their skirt length. But I assure you, they'll have their hands full before they leave here.
His entourage laughs.
I'm sure Mrs. Agnew would be glad to hear it. She probably knows a few of them from those fundraisers she used to do at their high school.
Agnew frowns and turns to face the two journos. He looks at Ed in the eye, and as they stare each other down, Agnew begins to walk toward them. Rick steps in front of Ed and extends his hand.
And who might you two gentlemen be?
Agnew ignores the attempted handshake. Sorry, sir, my partner hasn't had his morning coffee yet.
Oh, I know how I get when I haven't had my cup of joe. If it weren't for my caffeine, I'd be halfway to the DA's office with your head on a pike after a joke like that.
At your pace, I'd be surprised if you made it halfway down the hall.
Agnew and his retinue freeze for a long pause, all of the men behind him unsure as to how to react. The awkward and painful silence is suddenly broken by Agnew's piercing laugh.
You're a real hard-nosed journer, aren't you? I like it. Keeping us bigwigs in check. All right, go grab your records and get your little reports. I'm sure the public can't wait to read about the annual rain tax revenue assessments on page 6. Where do you boys work anyway?
Oh, we're from District
6. We're from District 6. Don't worry about him, sir. We'll be in and out.
6, huh? When you get back, let Editor Willis know that I'm gonna tear him a new one on the back 9 on Sunday.
We will. Have a good one, Inspector. Rick pushes Ed into the records office.
Do you need to be such a kiss-ass all the time?
Well, I wouldn't have to be if you weren't trying to sink both our careers.
Agnew's fucking nothing.
Agnew's one of the biggest power brokers in the city. One word from him, and we'll be back on the wires writing about town council meetings and potholes on 4th Avenue.
If you don't push him, you'll just keep giving, and shitheads like Agnew will walk all over you. You have to make a strong impression, keep them on their toes.
Whatever. Let's just grab what we need and get out of here before he finds out we're not with District 6. Rick heads to the closest filing cabinet while Ed looks at him with a slightly proud smirk as he realizes that the Boy Scout just lied for him. He then pulls out his last cigarette and lights it in a room full of loose papers and dust. The pair start going through the paperwork, opening filing cabinet after filing cabinet in a seemingly endless array of disorganized government documents. Time wears on and Rick brings them both a pair of coffees. Amid his tiredness, Ed uses the cup of coffee as an ashtray, causing Rick to raise an eyebrow. Did you mean to do that?
Yeah, of course. Helps bring out the flavor.
Rick isn't convinced, which forces Ed to take a drink to prove it. Okay, to each his own, I guess. As Rick turns away, Ed holds in a cough that almost turns into vomit. He silently gags as he holds the sound. Rick flips through the folder as Ed continues to dry heave. Hey, have you seen this? Rick turns to Ed, who quickly clears his throat.
No, what's up?
Someone tore out half the report. Rick pulls out the page he nabbed from the girl, and it matches the same printing and header of the rest of the report. You don't think?
Guess you're right. We gotta steal from kids more often.
Probably not. But why do you think she took these documents?
Because she didn't want us or anyone else to know what was in them.
Well, clearly, but why?
Who knows? Maybe Daddy doesn't want to pay his taxes and has this little girl playing heist while he rubs noses for the perverted crooks like Agnew.
Well, what's weird is that this report's been duplicated. There's no point in stealing it. I mean, look at this. At least 15 other copies in this drawer alone.
Maybe something's different about this one. Right here, the decimal place. It's one off.
Rick looks at the page and then back at the duplicated report. You're right. That's over $10 million. That's not in any of the other reports.
10 million untraceable dollars. They were supposed to go to local businesses after Hurricane Phoenix.
Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is probably just a printing error.
I don't know, pretty strange for someone to risk their neck to tear out and run with a printing error. Especially when it's right before the local mags come in for their weekly audit.
Well, we can't walk out of here with this. The secretary said all records stay in the room. They'll pat us down before we leave.
Don't worry about it, Rook. I got it.
Ed pulls out a slim camera from his coat pocket and takes several photos of the report.
All right, let's get out of here before Agnew finds out his little intern left a page behind.
The two men quickly walk out of the hall, keeping their heads down and ignoring the secretary, who has them patted down by a large security guard with rough hands. Once they are cleared, they hurry down the stairs at the front of the building, and as they step into the street, Agnew's cherry red convertible screeches past and hits a filthy puddle. Ed quickly steps behind Rick and avoids the splash as Rick is drenched. Ed, chuckling to himself, reaches into his jacket pocket for another cigarette. He pulls out the pack, looks inside to see it's empty, crushes it, and tosses it over his shoulder, into the clutches of a litter drone. They enter a seedy dive bar, which is mostly empty, except for a few regulars and a biker gang playing pool in the background. Rick is hesitant to walk in. He gets sized up by a big hairy bikers holding onto a pool cue in a very suggestive manner. Where are we? I thought you said we were gonna get those photos developed.
Calm down, Freddy.
Don't call me Freddy.
Slow your roll. We're getting the photos developed. Just, fewer prying eyes at a place like this.
Rick looks over at the suggestive biker and turns back to Ed. Are you sure about that? Ed nods at the biker, who promptly nods back and returns to his game of pool. What's that about?
Oh, that's Clint. We got a thing where if I walk in here with somebody and I don't nod, then he takes him out back and shoves the cue up there.
What?
You are too easy to fuck with, man.
So, he doesn't actually do that, does he? Ed ignores Rick and the pair walk up to a door behind the pool table. The biker with the cue stares deep into Rick's eyes as they pass, while Ed hops up a flight of stairs that lead to a dingy dark room with a disengaged attendant flicking through a dirty magazine.
Don't worry, Abe. I won't be long.
Fuck off. Ed smiles and walks into the dark room. A quick look of shock and disgust flashes across Rick's face, and he swiftly follows Ed. Ed gestures gracefully to the filthy darkroom. Cigarette butts, empty beer cans, and unopened condoms, and one filthy coffee cup are scattered around the place. The air is thick with the stench of highly flammable chemicals.
My home away from home. Every big case I ever cracked started right here.
Ed slaps the table, and an empty beer bottle falls into the ground and shatters. Nice place.
Thanks. I think it has a sort of, je ne sais quoi to it, don't you think?
What does that even mean?
I don't fucking know.
Ed flips the switch, and the room is illuminated by a red bulb. Ed pulls the thin cylinder out of his jacket pocket and begins to unwind the film. As he feeds the unwound film into the photo processor, Rick looks on, confused, and then bored. Alright, I got a few leads to follow up on. Just want to check in with a few of the local businesses to see if their aid payments match up with the list. Do you think you'll be alright here?
What, and deprive me of your yapping? I will ever survive.
I'll take that as a yes. Try not to burn the place down. Rick is going from store to store asking people about aid payments. Intercut with Ed working on developing the photo. Rick is speaking with a little old lady at the convenience store who shakes her head as he speaks. Ed stares carefully down the barrel of a microscope-like device as he aligns the photos with the paper. Rick chats with a construction foreman on a worksite who hands him a whole load of paperwork as a brick falls onto the building and bonks him on the hard hat. Ed soaks the photos in the first chemical bath, and as the black and white shapes begin to crystallize, he reaches into his jacket pocket, remembering he smoked his last cigarette, and he bangs on the darkroom wall. Rick helps wait tables while asking the manager about their aid payments. Back inside the darkroom, moments later.
Yo, Abe, run down to the shop and pick me up a carton, would ya?
Fuck off.
Come on, you know I'm good for it.
And this chair is good for my ass.
Tell you what, you get the carton and I'll get you a pack, free of charge.
Make it 2, and you got a deal.
1.5, and I don't tell your girlfriend about Maria.
Fuck, fine. Be back in 10. Abe looks at the magazine again, making direct eye contact with the buxom young lady on the cover. Actually, more like 20. Abe loudly walks down the steps and the exterior door slams shut. Ed picks up one of the photos and looks at it closely. He stares intently for a second before shaking his head and pulling out a lighter from his pocket. He flicks the lighter open and uses it to illuminate the photo. And as he stares intently at the photograph, the light reflects off of the eyes of a masked intruder standing behind him. The intruder dives onto Ed's back, knocking him onto the table, splashing the chemicals all over the floor and wall, causing him to drop the lighter. The two men scuffle and fight as the chemicals creep closer and closer to the open flame until the entire room ignites. Ed is quick on his feet, but the intruder is quicker. And as he holds Ed's wrists and begins to beat him in the face, Ed snaps a photo of the man, blinding him briefly and allowing Ed to get a few hits in. The two men, now trapped in this inferno, continue to fight. But when Ed is beaten down, he maneuvers himself closer and closer to the taped-over window. Ed swiftly picks up his lost lighter and readies it in his hand. With one final triumphant punch, the masked man flings Ed out of the window, and as he smashes against the glass, he drops the lighter onto the tub of chemicals, and the entire room combusts into flame. Inside of a convenience store at the same time, Rick is at the front counter arguing with an old man while Abe is in the background, comparing 2 cartons of cigarettes very closely. I'm confused, so you didn't receive any money?
$10.99.
Is that $10,099 or $10.99?
$10.99.
The old man points to the price board above his head. This really isn't helping.
The combo is $10.99. Cash or card?
No, sir, I'm talking about the aid money for Hurricane Phoenix. I don't want to buy anything.
All right. $9.99. It's a very good deal.
Please, sir, I just want to know. Rick is interrupted by a massive explosion. He looks outside and realizes it was the bar that Ed was in. Rick runs out the door without a second thought.
Wait. $8.99. Final offer.
Outside the bar, moments later, Ed is lying in the grass outside the destroyed, burning darkroom. Fire trucks arrive and start working on the blaze. Ed tries to use his right arm to stand up, but it quickly buckles under his weight and he falls back into the grass. He uses his left and struggles to his feet. Rick arrives and helps him up. Ed, Jesus Christ, what happened?
My defense, the other guy burned the place down.
What other guy?
The pile of ash the fire department's gonna have to sweep up.
What do you mean?
Some guy, he tried to crack my head open while I was putting the photos out to dry.
One of the bikers, you think?
No, they wouldn't do this. Anyway, the guy was a professional. Would have killed me if I didn't drop my lighter.
A fire department official runs to help, but Ed waves him away. He tosses off the blanket draped over his shoulders and begins to walk away as the building is sprayed with hoses. Are you sure you don't want any help?
I'm fine. Just I need a donut and a coffee.
Ed stumbles and Rick slings his arm over his shoulder. What the fuck happened? Ed and Rick turn back to see Abe, awestruck by his torched place of business.
Guy came in and torched the place. You need better security.
Ed snatches the carton from Abe and tears a pack out, tossing it back to him. He takes a pack for himself, opens it, and lights the first cigarette in what feels like days.
Thanks, Abe, old buddy, and don't worry your pretty little head. Won't be telling your girl about Maria.
Abe stares blankly at the burning wreckage of his life as Ed pats him on the back and walks away. Rick still supporting most of his weight. Who's Maria?
His wife.
Oh. The 9 to 5 diner, a few hours later. Ed casually sips a cup of coffee while Rick looks at him, with an expression of confusion, worry, a slight tinge of fear. Ed calls a waitress over.
Teresa, sweetheart, could you get me a slice of that cherry pie?
Fuck you.
Thanks, doll. You're a peach.
Are you sure you don't want to go to the hospital?
I'm fine. Just a couple of scratches.
As Ed speaks, a stream of blood begins to run down the side of his face. Rick gestures to the blood, and Ed dabs it away with a dirty napkin.
You pick anything up while you were running errands?
Nothing that made sense. None of the places I went to even heard about the aid payments. Just doesn't add up.
Adds up to me. First some skirt rips out half the pay stubs, then that whole mess with the IG, and now some thug tries to snuff out the trail.
But why would they try and kill you? They thought they'd already ripped out the docs.
People like this are nothing if not thorough.
Okay, let's say you're right and there is some grand conspiracy cheating this city out of millions every year. What then, huh?
We do what Journos always do. We work the case.
Well, either way, we're out of leads. We just lost the paperwork and our best witness just got burned alive.
I wouldn't say that.
What do you mean? Ed takes out his camera. You didn't.
Snapped a pic of him while he was punching my lights out.
And you held onto the camera?
Of course. Nothing but professional for Miss Journo.
As he speaks, Ed picks up his coffee with his right arm and winces painfully, until he has to set it down. Wait a second. Rick rolls back Ed's sleeve. As we cut to a behind-the-back shot, Rick dry heaves and coughs violently.
What?
Your arm's been broken this whole time?
Huh. Look at that.
Ed grabs his coffee with his left hand and takes a sip. God, you are one real crazy piece. End of episode 1. Well, thank you everyone for listening to episode 200 of the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. We hope you enjoyed our beautiful and scripted episode with fantastic sound effects and the sultry, dulcet tones of these beautiful actors and actresses that we've hired.
Exactly.
A great personal
Explosions, the
expense.
metro sounds. It was cinematic masterpiece.
The
I think we've already been nominated for an
guffawing.
Oscar, which is weird because it's not.
It's an audio medium.
But I think if you look really hard at the animation on YouTube, you can kind of see it.
Yeah. If you close your eyes, you can see it in dancing across your mind. The video, the images of what you're listening to. That's how vividly we've written and audio designed. Foley. That's what Jake's been up to all week. Foley art. None of those sound effects you just heard are stock or from some sort of database online. He went out and he made all of those noises.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, I did make a lot of them, to be honest.
Yeah. Smoking so many cigarettes, Jake has been this last week.
All the cigarette sound effects is me. I'm just 10 packs a day kind of guy.
Punching darts all day long, and we love it for him.
Yeah.
He's a short king with a smoking habit and a cane.
Okay. Now, Charlie, this is something that we haven't even talked about at all yet, which is that was episode 200. And after
Yeah.
episode 100, we opened the doors a little bit. We let ourselves do, remakes. We allowed sequels.
Remakes, sequels.
We allowed, more stuff on the ballot.
Films,
So what's in
yeah.
store for episode 200? What's allowed next?
For
Will there
201 to 300? Let's think.
I don't know. Will it be short stories? Will there be?
Ooh.
Are you gonna write us a song, Charlie?
I would love to write us a song. I don't know how to write a song, and I can't play any instruments, but I'll figure it out. It doesn't seem that hard. If
Could
drug
be short
addicts can
stories in the
write
future.
songs.
I don't know.
Could
I
be
don't know.
short stories.
I don't know what's.
Could be
what's on the
poems.
ballot. Yeah,
This is
just
going to
a
become
whole
a slam
episode
poetry.
of poems.
Maybe we'll start
maybe you could do like
publishing
an
the
epic
notes.
poem, like if we did like Don Juan, like with like Byron's poem.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say Don
I don't know
Quixote,
why he
and I was
pronounces
like, I'm
it
pretty sure-
Don Juan. By the way, that's something I don't get
Yeah.
because it's Don Juan if you look at it, but like
Yeah,
for some
it's
reason
Don Juan.
they say Don Juan in like English class. I think that's the way
Well-
he said it as a joke, but I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
It's Don Juan. He's beautiful,
Don Juan
man.
makes more sense.
It makes so much more sense. Also, much sexier name than Juan. Juan.
But that's
maybe-
what Charlie's got coming up. His sexy romantic poem.
About a mysterious man. No one knows his name, but his initials are JG.
Jorge
Yeah.
Gonzalez.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we'll start publishing the notes that we have when writing the episode. That could
That would
be
be
fun.
terrible because they're all a mess, at least on my side.
I think it would be fun if we just had a little website and we published all the notes there. Just like scan them in. I would have to scan
See,
them in.
we
'cause
couldn't. We could do that, but I would have to clean up all my notes.
My
'Cause
notes
a lot of
are
them
written
don't
in-
make any sense unless I'm reading them.
See, my notes are written in beautiful cursive, and they all make sense, which makes me think I'm not doing it right.
Yeah, but you only started that recently, so
Yeah.
There's a lot of old ones are not in cursive, so you're gonna have to.
No, they look like shit. We love it. We love it. Though maybe we'll do it drunk. Maybe every episode from now on will be drunk while we're recording it.
I'm sure that would be even better than what we already do. Yeah.
Oh, wait, it's so much. We'd be so more flow, so much more like energy.
Yeah, I wouldn't have to cut out any more ums or buts or any of that stuff.
Nope,
'Cause we would
never.
just be flowing easy.
Well,
Any
thank you everyone.
Middle of the podcast, bathroom breaks, nothing. It'd be great.
I couldn't imagine. Maybe we'll start recording in the bathroom. My bathroom's got pretty good Wi-Fi. We'll just start recording all the episodes in the bathroom.
You know what? That's what we're saying now on. That's the new gimmick for episodes 200 through 300. Charlie's always in the bathroom for it.
That's the canon.
Even if he sounds like he's not, even if he says he's not, he's in the bathroom.
I'm in the bathroom, no pants. Not even using
from
the
the
toilet.
bathroom.
Just standing in the bathroom with no pants on.
Yeah,
That's
I'd
what I
like
do
the
in my
intro.
free
Every
time.
episode be like, this is Charles Long, live from the bathroom.
From the bathroom. Well, thank you everyone for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host as always with Charles Long and wait, I cannot believe episode 200 and I flubbed the outro. That's
You said
insane.
it 200 times.
I've said it
I think you
200
have it down
times.
by now.
Oh, me too. I'm gonna start again. Thank you everyone for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles Long. With me has always been my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please give us a like, a follow, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat. And remember, we will be here next week with a brand new televisual series for you to all imagine and enjoy. Thank you, and have a good night.